Hi everyone, today we're going to be covering some contributing factors to why I believe the new film by the visionary filmmaker Robert Eggers,
Nosferatu,
is a standout picture which has raised the bar for not only the horror genre, but all of modern filmmaking. I managed to see it opening day, and apart from the few people within my packed audience who made it a not so enjoyable experience,
Lord have mercy! Sam, this is some scary shit! Oh, I am scared!
I tried to let it all not tarnish what I believe will be considered a modern horror masterpiece. I've been excited to see this since it was first ever announced, before any trailers or teasers ever graced our screens. There's been quite a roll of awesome horror movies over the last year, and I've really enjoyed movies like The First Omen, The Substance, Heretic, Longlegs, and now Nosferatu. I've been a fan of the original 1922 silent movie for many years and still find it very unsettling to this day. However, I was very interested to see what a fresh but respectful taste on the legendary Count Orlok would look like. Luckily, even the marketing didn't spoil too much like most modern trailers do. Like Longlegs, we managed to keep the reveal of the main antagonist a secret until seeing them on the silver screens ourselves. For those unfamiliar with the story of Nosferatu, it follows the tale of a young land agent who is summoned to the castle of Count Orlok, a secretly ancient vampire who is requested to purchase a property in the same area as the young agent and his new bride. The vampire intends to prey on the agent's wife after becoming infatuated with her. Cursed by nightmares and shadowy figures, with the help of some experts in the occult, they must stop this ancient evil and the plague he carries before he consumes their lives and everything they hold dear. All the casting seemed perfect for this film. Now I've seen it, I couldn't picture better actors for these roles. They all carry just the right amount of emotion and intent that the character calls for. Nicholas Hoult in the lead seems very polite and timid, but still noble to some degree. Simon McBurney is just the right amount of treacherous but snivelling coward. Willem Dafoe is just the right amount of crazy but well spoken enough to be a convincing argument for the unbelievable evils of the world. Even the extras seem extremely authentic and just like they were pulled straight out of that time and place within history. The two major roles people will most likely be speaking of when this film comes up in conversation is Lily Rose Depp, which surprisingly I've never seen before in anything, and she was extremely well rounded in this film. She shows a smorgasbord of emotion and range, whether it be tears of happiness, frustration to her friends about them not taking her words of warning seriously, bravery in the face of unspeakable horrors, or her throwing herself around and contorting herself in unbelievable ways. Nicholas Hoult, who plays Thomas Hutter, gives an incredibly believable performance. All the scenes of him interacting with Count Orlok were actually amazing. You can pick up every sense of fear and every thought going through his head without him saying a single word. There's a scene in particular where he first arrives at the castle and is sitting at a dinner table with him discussing some further details. Count Orlok is doing all the speaking from the shadows. Nicholas Hoult's face tells 1,000 words. I wouldn't be surprised if he was up for some form of award for his performance. Bill Skarsgård plays the infamous Count Orlok, Nosferatu himself. A towering and foreboding undead nobleman. I was extremely excited to see how Robert Eggers would bring this legendary undead plague carrier back from the dead, so to speak.
Our intention is to make something that is both gothic and romantic, but actually truly a scary horror movie.
I'm ready.
All the actors really put every bit of themselves into it to make it the most dread-filled and atmospheric we possibly could.
And I have to say it's an incredibly intense screen presence, and they show just enough of him to keep him constantly scary. There is a lot of shadow work which is handled extremely well, as is all the imagery in the film. The cinematography, lighting, sets and costumes are all extremely authentic and evoke such a genuine period experience. Eggers is known for his attention to details, with the research he puts into all his historic folklore and backstories.
I think that's what Robert brings to his movies, such artistic depth. Nosferatu is like no other movie I've ever done.
I'm blown away by the accuracy of the recreation of all these historical things that make the world so authentic. And even down to the fine details like Orlok's crypt.
Orlok's coffin is quite spectacular. It's based on lots of research of mainly Polish coffins. The real ones like have skulls on the side of them, you know, and like how sick is that?
I remember just thinking, wow, they're not building sets, they're building a world. Even the costumes on this film were so phenomenal. Every single thing is so authentic, so beautiful.
Every part of this movie felt like it was painstakingly gone over with a fine-tooth comb in order to immerse you fully into this world and make the horror of what you're seeing as real to you as it would be to the unsuspecting members of the film's plot. Whenever Eggers seems to tackle a certain era, creature, or topic, he makes it extremely believable and puts you in the shoes of the people who were genuinely terrified and believed these legends and folktales. The scares, I'd say, are largely more unnerving and unsettling rather than the more modern approach of cattle prod cinema. And although this film isn't completely void of jump scares, the kind of jump scares that James Wan's creates comes to mind. Like when they happen, it's because something that is actually frightening is on screen. It's not a false jump scare, such as a bird flying into a window or a person being in the reflection of a closing bathroom mirror.
Josh?
Anytime something scary happens on screen, it gets under your skin. I genuinely had chills and shivered in my seat at certain points throughout this whenever Orlok was on screen. There would just be slow static shots of him edging towards the camera out of the darkness, and the hairs on my arms would stand up as it was genuinely scary. The film balances a fine line of world building, character development, plot progression, and intrigue alongside its truly horrifying scares. I don't remember vampires being portrayed this frightening since The Lost Boys. The pacing of the film is very steady, and at no point did it feel like the removal of any frame of the film would have been necessary. It had so much more story in it than I was expecting. The original 1922 silent film is just shy of 90 minutes, and this clocks in at around 2 hours and 12 minutes. And it does seem there's almost 2 films worth of stories in it compared to the original, and it has so much more of a focus about the characters that this evil is affecting than the original ever seemed to. You get an in-depth narrative within Lily Rose Depp's character about how this evil presence has taken a hold of her ever since she was a child, and how she is struggling on a daily basis with this affliction, and by her marriage to Thomas, trying to overcome it. It really makes you sympathise with the victims of this story, which keeps you invested, and I've read that Robert Eggers wanted to show that perspective of her character, rather than just the tale being about mainly Thomas and Count Orlok.
And something that I really loved about the Bornau film is that, you know, it ends with the female protagonist being the heroine, and I thought that it would be like potentially more exciting if you know the whole film is told through her eyes, because it had the potential to be more like emotionally and psychologically complex than an adventure story about a real estate agent.
The build up to the climax really had me worked up. I was so invested in how this story was going to come to a head that I was leaning forward in my seat almost to try and take in and savour every moment of it. And again, looking back now, this picture is a real rollercoaster of emotions. It's terrifying yet tragic, the tone is perfect, and also, with the time period, rats and plague infestations, it really reminded me of something in the vein of a H.P. Lovecraft tale, which makes me think Robert Eggers would probably make one hell of a Lovecraft adaptation. All in all, I really love this film, and it feels like it's some of his best work he's ever crafted. I'm excited to see it again and just absorb even more of this world in a second time round, now I've come down from my initial shock and wonder. For anyone looking for a rich and vast period fantasy set in a gothic landscape, featuring tales of romance, obsession, deceit, possession, and genuinely terrifying scenes, this is the film you've been waiting for.
I have wrestled with the devil as Jacob wrestled the angel in Peniel, and I tell you, if we are to tame darkness, we must first face that it exists. We are here encountering the vampire. Nosferatu.
I very rarely see a film I'm completely satisfied with down to its very core, but this, I have to say, is as near to perfection as I've ever seen a horror film. I'd give it a solid 10 out of 10. I believe this will be Eggers' magnum opus, and I hope people will refer to and speak fondly of this film for many years to come. Thank you ever so much for watching, I really appreciate all the support, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel just yet, please consider doing so as it helps me continue moving forward with creating these kinds of videos for you all. What did you think of the film? Have you seen it? Did you enjoy any specific aspects about it or dislike anything in particular? If so, let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to discuss this film further with you. Again, thank you ever so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.